Hey everybody, it's your pal Mike Zombie, and this week we're going to talk about Abraham Lincoln vs. Zombies from 2012. Now this film took me by surprise, because it's not your typical zombie film. Obviously in the placement of where it is, it's already going to be different. We're talking about Abraham Lincoln. So this takes us pretty far back, and it puts us right in the middle of the war between the Union and the Confederacy. And Abraham Lincoln is played by Bill Oberst Jr., which is a friend of the show. And I have no problem saying, and this isn't an ass-kissing thing, that's not what I'm here to do. Bill did a really good job playing Abraham Lincoln. He was very well-spoken. He was very thoughtful in his words. He was that kind of stoic, charismatic speaker that you would want Abe Lincoln to be. But don't get the idea this is an ass-kissing fest, because there was several things in this film that bugged me and that I didn't like, but overall, yeah, it was a pretty good zombie film, and I think it's one you ought to see. The movie starts out as the president is speaking with his generals and commanders and his staff about Operation Big Shanty and the apparent failure that it was. They sent a bunch of men out to Fort Pulaski to retake it, to hold it. One man returned, and he is just absolutely batshit crazy. He's describing the living dead. And Abe Lincoln takes a big interest in this. Everybody's kind of discounting his words like he's just crazy. Maybe he's got some kind of sickness. But Abe's like, no, because when Abe was a boy, we saw that, I'm assuming it was his mother that he had to kill. His father blew his brains out, and Abe had to kill his mother. And she was a zombie. The father didn't have the heart or the guts to do it. So as everybody else is kind of discounting this crazy man's story, Abe is like, no, well, let's hear about what's going on. And they go to see the man, and he's obviously becoming a zombie. He's physically changing. He's delirious. His eyes are kind of going over white. His skin is very pale, and he's babbling. He's just talking about how they came from everywhere, and they were biting, and they were attacking, and they couldn't be killed, and you'd shoot them and stab them and hit them with a sword, chop them, and nothing seemed to make a difference because they kept coming. So the president says, we've got to go. We've got to go to Fort Pulaski. He's making two cases. One, that the fate of the war depends on it and the country, because if they don't kill these things, and he tells everybody, hey, I have special knowledge of this sickness that this man has brought back. If we don't deal with this, this is a problem for the whole nation. Once the war's over, there won't be anything left, because everybody's going to be these things. So he calls up 12 people from the newly formed Secret Service to go with him. And Abe has got a badass little, it's like a mini sickle. It's pretty badass. And one thing that they like to do in this film is have him unsheath it. It fits inside his jacket, kind of like he's part of the trenchcoat mafia. And he whips it out over and over and flicks it open, and it goes as it comes out, and he swings the motherfucker and just lops heads off with it. They start making their way to Fort Pulaski. The first thing they need to do is to figure out where everybody is, because they are fighting the South. They need to figure out who's holding it and where these creatures are. Now, when they arrive, it's pretty clear. It seems like no one's here. And they go inside, and they're suddenly being shot at by some Southern soldiers. The Confederates are there. Zombies come in, as per usual with a movie and this is brand new, so I'm really not going to get too far into detail with it. The North end up meeting the South and trying to form an alliance with Stonewall Jackson. Stonewall's like, you guys can go shit in your hat. I'm not helping out the North. And Abe really wishes they could work together, because he does respect Stonewall. Several things pop up in this film. Several battles are going on. The North is fighting the South. In some sense, slave owners are fighting the slaves. Everybody's fighting the dead. And people that have been important in Abe Lincoln's life start to appear. He runs into some people that he knows. About as far as I want to get into that, but we see a bit into his past. We also see a very young Theodore Roosevelt. They try to make a lot of connections between Abe and Teddy, and I did not care for some of that. The writing in this film was really competent. The directing was pretty good. The acting wasn't poor from anyone, but some people did kind of seem like they didn't understand the people they were playing or their motivation. Not Bill, though. Bill did a fantastic job, because Bill's a good actor. Now, you guys know I got to find something to shit on. And men's beards were the thing back then. And every beard in this movie looked like complete shit. Every beard, every mustache, every beard looks glued on. There's a guy who has a real shitty sparse beard. Like, I have a nephew that has like just an odd beard. It's like he has his hair, just kind of hair every which way, but nothing real solid and nothing at all dense. Even his beard looks shitty, and that was absolutely real. The Lincoln's beard looks good at the very end of the movie. The last sequence where they really show him up close, it looked good. The movie's just about Abe having to step up, not just help the country, but fight the zombies, but kind of bring the Southern generals to him to form a union, to form an understanding, to do what's right. And I've seen people already online shitting on this film. The ending to this film, which I'm not going to tell you, was absolutely brilliant. You see it coming. You see it coming from probably 7-8 minutes off towards the end. You go, oh, is he gonna do what I think he's gonna do? But then you're like, nice. When this movie ends, that's exactly what I said. When it faded to black, I said, nice. Okay. I knew what was gonna happen. They didn't have to show it, but I knew it. And it makes perfect sense. Yeah, to be honest, I'm looking at my notes here. I really don't have that much on the film, which means I did enjoy watching it. I didn't sit there and write a shitload of notes. Anything else on here? Beards all look bad, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. So in movies like this, I tend, it's like a period piece, I tend to look for things that should not be there. And I did find a couple, but nothing that really stood out. And there wasn't a car driving along the road. Wasn't a plane flying by. They did a real good job. And the use of After Effects, they create some scenes and some locations from a distance were really nice. They didn't try to make it too crazy that it looked stupid. This was a time when the craftsmanship was a big deal, and we forged all of our stuff. They didn't get carried away with trying to over detail everything. Things were kind of left looking a little dirty, I guess. And that really worked for this film. Nice work for Abraham Lincoln versus Zombies for 2012. I know McPherson, I certainly appreciate the copy that we got to review. I'm not going to completely shit on this film. There were a couple dumb things. There were some special effects issues I had, and the beards were a fucking joke. You know, folks, I'm looking at the beards in this thing, and if you guys know Vaughn, Vaughn has a beard that looks like a fucking magic carpet coming off of his face. It's huge. His beard looks awesome. It's thick. It's real. Especially in comparison to a beard that's glued on that looks really silly. So up until the last scene, the beards in this thing stunk. Overall, I enjoyed the film. I did. I especially liked the end. McPierce said he got us a copy, and I was like, yes, all right, can't wait to see it. And I'm glad I did. So it is worth your time. So on the Berdinsky scale of buy it, borrow it, or don't bother, this would be a borrow. Absolute borrow. Yeah. So nice work, Bill. I enjoyed your representation of Lincoln. I'm trying to think of what I've got coming up. I've got some Italian stuff coming up. I'm going to be reviewing some movies that are in Italian. I comprehend much more Italian than I speak, but I understand enough to watch these films. So got some good stuff coming your way, some older Italian zombie films, some of which you've probably never, ever heard of. And I think from what I heard earlier today, we've got a nice zombie mob coming up. You're good to be back with Vaughn. I think Robert Arbet. Oh, I shouldn't say names. Okay. I don't know. I don't know who's committed to it yet besides, okay, it'll be Vaughn, myself, because McPierce is actually going to be doing some of that community service for some of those crimes he did. If you just pay the shit off, you don't have to go pick shit up off the freeway. I'm just saying. I know you got money. Anyway. All right, guys. Enjoy your weekend, and